Hey, what's up everybody? I am Casey Redbeard, you're watching Redbeard Rants, and I'm making a very special video. This is going to be a complete framework, or you could call it a checklist, that you're using when texting girls to make sure you're ticking all the proper boxes to create a fun, flirtatious vibe that's actually going to lead somewhere. It's going to lead to a date. Now, initially, I created this checklist for my account managers. These are people who handle the texting and dating apps for our clients. Clients outsource their dating apps to us and we get them dates. But then I thought, hey, the world needs to see this, so I'm making a YouTube version here, open to the public, and let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do when you're texting a girl is you want to make sure that you give answers that are at least 10% more interesting than what the average guy would say. Now, you don't need to go overboard. You don't need to be the William Shakespeare, James Bond, most witty texting genius of all time, but just give an answer that's 10% more interesting and you'll already stand out from the crowd. So some examples. She says, "How old are you?" You could say, "I'm 35. That's it. Asked and answered. I'm 35. Or the 10% more interesting answer, you could say, "Yeah, I have 35 years of experience on this planet, and I'm happy to share my wisdom and experience with you, lucky girl." Or if she says, "What do you do for a living?" You could say, "I'm an accountant. I'm an accountant. What about you?" Boring. Or you could say, "Yeah, I'm an accountant, so basically the IRS fucking hates me because I save my clients thousands of dollars on their taxes everywhere. Screw you, Uncle Sam, LOL." Now, if she says, "What's your favorite drink?" You could say, "Tequila. What's my favorite drink? Tequila." Or the 10% more interesting answer, "Yo, I take straight up tequila shots with salt and lime. No chaser, like a real man, LOL." Now, with saying, "I take straight up tequila shots with no chaser like a real man," is that the best text of all time? Absolutely not, but you're just making it 10% more interesting. You're putting a little bit of humor on it. You're revealing more about yourself, your perspectives, and you're just making the interaction more fun, and it's gonna stand out. Now, like I said, you don't wanna make your answers 1,000% more interesting. No, that's try hard, that comes off as needy. You wanna use this sparingly. Just give 10% more interesting answers and you'll stand out from the crowd. The next thing that you wanna implement in your texting at some point would be a slight tease. So it's gonna bode very well for you if you can do this in a way that's gonna just kind of push her away a little bit. Not even necessarily push her away, but just show that you're not the typical needy guy that's on his knees and so desperate for her affection. Just kind of, they used to call it a neg in the old school pickup community, but whatever, we'll just call it a slight tease here. So for example, I'm gonna put a photo on screen right now. So if a girl had this photo on a dating app, in order to give a slight subtle tease, you could say, "Yeah, you look really cute. I love your tan, very sexy, and that pose makes you seem really outgoing and bubbly. And I can also see that you like to buy your pants at half price because those jeans are full of holes. Now, if we actually end up going out and we get along really well, I'd be sure to take you shopping so you can get some intact jeans, without any holes in them," right? Just a simple little tease. Or, another example, if you're on the dating app or Instagram and practically all of her photos are selfies, you could say, "Hey love, I really love your selfie collection. It's very cute, but if we end up going it out and hitting it off, I would definitely be buying you a tripod for your birthday, LOL." Again, the main thing to keep in mind here is that you don't actually offend her, saying, "Oh, your selfie collection is so cute, but I'm gonna buy you a tripod," or, "Your jeans, I see you like to buy your pants at half price because your jeans have so many holes in them." That's not something about her personally that she's gonna take offense to. And again, like I said, keep it light, keep it playful. You don't actually want to offend her. All right, so the next thing on this little texting checklist I'm putting together is you want to text her like a high value man. So I have an entire video on this, but the short version is you want to come from the frame that sounds like this: "I like you so far. You're cute, you're interesting, but I'm just not convinced yet. I'm still evaluating you." In old school pimp terms, this is called flipping the script because usually it's the guy who's desperately trying to sell himself to the girl. What we do by flipping the script, reversing that frame, is we make it clear that we're the prize to be won over and she's the salesman. She's selling herself to us and we're evaluating if we want to buy or not. So to establish this frame with a girl, you can say things like, "You're doing well so far," or "I hope you're equally charming in person as you are over text," or "This convo is going great, but I just hope you don't turn out to be crazy. And another key component of this high value man frame is that the girl must pull her weight. So you text her in a way where you're just making it very clear that she has to contribute something to the relationship besides just looking hot. So some things you can say to establish that frame are, I'll teach you English if you cook for me. This is obviously if you're in a foreign country. You wouldn't say that in America unless you didn't speak English. Another thing you could say to establish this frame would be, drinks are on me as long as you provide me with stimulating conversation all night. And you can say, another example would be, I'd be happy to mentor you in business if you help me with my Portuguese. Something I would say to a girl when I'm in Brazil, obviously. Okay, so the next thing on the checklist is qualification. So this is massive. Some of these on the list are optional. Qualification is not optional, guys. You have to do this. What this means is you give the girl genuine compliments or reasons why the two of you would work well together that have nothing to do with her appearance. So again, compliments, genuine compliments that are sincere and real, or reasons why you work well together that have nothing to do with her looks. So rather than call her sexy and gorgeous and all that other stuff, you're giving her these unique compliments based on her personality, her points of view, her achievements, her behaviors, things you have in common, the chemistry you have, etc. So some examples of this. You could say, yeah, I love the fact that you have a private Instagram with only 200 followers and you don't show anything too revealing in your photos. Definitely a refreshing change from all the thirsty, attention-seeking girls I see on Instagram these days. You could also say, oh, you're a veterinarian? That's so impressive for your age, 22 years old. Wow, you must be really smart and ambitious. I like that. Or you could qualify her by saying, that's so cool that you play guitar. You know, I have a deep passion for music as well. So I feel like if I'm not dating a girl that shares that same passion with me of music, then the chemistry just isn't as good and yeah, it doesn't work out. So thankfully, you and I don't have that problem. The next thing on the list is asserting a strong opinion. So as we just talked about, qualification, the thing we just talked about earlier, is a great lead-in that you can use to assert a strong opinion, and you can mix the two, which I'll explain in a second. But let's kind of define first why asserting a strong opinion is so attractive and why you want to include it when you can. So when you insert a really strong opinion about something without fear of offending the girl, like a very bold, polarizing opinion, and you just express that opinion like, hey, like this is how I feel strongly about this, and you're not afraid to offend her, that comes off as very masculine, and you're sub-communicating that you don't give a fuck if she judges you, which that's how a high-value guy would text. That's how a guy with a lot of options would text. He would just say what he wants, give his opinions, and not be afraid if he's impressing the girl or risking losing the girl. So some examples of asserting a strong opinion could be, I hate woke culture, it is literally cancer, right? So you say that to a girl, she's like, wow, you know, how does he know I'm not a wokey? You know, he wasn't afraid to offend me, hopefully. Or maybe you did offend her and you just cut her off. Anyway, which is probably the best thing to do. Or you can weave it into qualification like I talked about earlier. So combine giving a very strong, polarizing opinion with giving her a genuine compliment. So you could say, yeah, it seems like from your photos that you go to the gym a lot, and that's awesome. I can't stand people who don't take care of their health, right? Combining qualification with a strong opinion. Or, that's great that you're very independent. I despise women who have sugar daddies. The idea of that just disgusts me. Or you could say, I really like how you meditate every day. I do that too. I feel like people who don't meditate usually have negative energy in the world and they just completely are unaware of their own emotions and they're just completely lost. Okay, on to the next item on our checklist is you must make the interaction man to woman. In other words, at some point you must remind the girl that you're not her platonic texting buddy, but you're a man with a penis and this interaction has romantic intentions. You're not gonna get stuck in the friend zone. You're here to date her. So this is super easy to do. Just once in a while, you need to call her sexy, cute, something like that. This can be mixed in with the qualification like we talked about previously. So as we just said, qualification means you give her compliments that are not about her looks, but you can say her ambition is sexy. You can say her intelligence is sexy rather than her physical appearance. But, you know, it's fine to give compliments and qualifications like we talked about earlier, but at some point you probably do want to make it about her physically. You definitely need to, don't overdo it, just kind of check the box at some point, make sure you're reminding her that, hey, I think you're sexy, I'm here to date you, I'm a man, you're a woman, and just make it very clear that at some point you've checked that box and you've established that man to woman frame. All right, the next thing on our checklist is cold reading. So cold reading the girl is when you basically just guess things about her. This can be based on information you have from her photos, her bio, things in the conversation already, etc. So cold reading can make the conversation a lot more interesting and feel a lot less like an interview. So for example, instead of asking her what she does for a living, you can kind of play with it. You can kind of make it into a playful little, I wouldn't say like a tease, but just kind of guess things about her rather than ask. So you can say, you know, listen, I'm getting a very peaceful, kind of like hippie chick type vibe from you, so tell me, you must work at a marijuana dispensary, am I right? And she's gonna be like, LOL, no, I work as a yoga teacher, but why would you think that? I do smoke weed, haha. Just kind of, you know, make it more playful, make it more interesting. Kind of ties into the 10% more interesting topic we talked about earlier. So another example of a cold read could be, you know, I'm getting the vibe that you're a very ambitious person. You probably wake up early, hit the gym before work, listen to audiobooks in the car, etc. Am I on the right track here? So there you go. Just instead of just asking her things, just start reading and guessing things about her. It spices up the conversation, makes it a lot more fun. The next item on our checklist, which isn't necessary, but if you can do it in an attractive way if it comes up, is to call her out on something. So obviously, if you're gonna call the girl out on something, kind of, in other words, scold her on something, for, I guess that would be a synonym for calling her out, is to do it very carefully and don't put your foot in your mouth, don't go too harshly. So yeah, you can blow yourself up with this. So this is more of an advanced technique, so be careful with this. But if done correctly, this is extremely powerful and you'll stand out from every other guy that she's texting or talking to. I remember I did this one time in person to a girl. I was at a cold approach thing. I met her at the mall. She was just getting off of work. And right in the middle of talking to me, she looked down to check some notification on her phone. And I said, hey, excuse me, how rude. Do not check your phone when you have a sexy, interesting man in front of you. Eyes on the prize, sweetheart. But I said it with that like kind of cocky smile, and I said it in a really sexy way. And you know, I wasn't obviously like yelling at her. And I'll never forget the way she looked up at me with like just like in the PUA community they call it doggy dinner bowl eyes, like how a dog looks at his dinner bowl when you serve him food, or anime eyes as it's called. And her eyes and her expression was just basically like, oh, yes, daddy, anything you want, daddy, I'm so sorry, I'll obey from now on. And from that point on, she was just mine. So over text, you can't use your facial expressions, you can't use your tone of voice, so it has to be done with a very, very light touch. So an example that I've done with this with good results in the past is I'll say something like, hey, Jessica, you know, I'm liking this conversation. It's definitely interesting, I'll give you that, but you know, with all due respect, your response time could definitely be improved. Like if the girl's texting you like, you know, 4 or 5 hours in between her replies, right? You can kind of call her out on, you know, taking too long to reply. Or if she's talking to you and, you know, it's going well, but she's making excuses when it comes to actually scheduling the date, you could call her out on that. You could say, hey, listen, you know, I really like talking to you. I think we have good chemistry, but I'm actually not looking for a pen pal. If you're actually serious about meeting up sometime, you know, I'd love to. But what I'm not down for is a lot of chit chat if this isn't going anywhere. So I'm sorry. So you say something like that to a girl and you've instantly shown that you're 99% more alpha than all the dudes she's talking to. And when done correctly, in a subtle, fun way that's not too offensive, she's gonna get really, really turned on. But just be careful with it, don't go too far. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is vibing. So vibing isn't really something that's on the checklist per se, like all these other things. And, you know, we've talked about a lot of the other ones. To recap, we talked about asserting a strong opinion. We just talked about calling her out. We also talked about teasing her, etc. But 90% of what you are going to be doing is just simply run-of-the-mill, boring vibing. So let's define that. Vibing, in its simplest terms, just means you're enjoying the conversation with the girl and you're getting to know her. Nothing more. You're enjoying the conversation, you're asking questions about each other, you're sharing your perspectives about the world, you're seeing what you have in common. In other words, you are getting to know each other. So some examples of this is you find out that you're both heavily into EDM music and you talk about EDM music. You talk about the artists you like, what you don't like, shows you've been to recently, things like that. Or maybe you're both bilingual, you talk about that, or maybe the fact that you're both into meditation, or that she doesn't know what meditation is. Take it the other way. She doesn't know what meditation is, so you start teaching her about it and why it's so valuable to you and interesting facts about it. And she's like, oh, wow, that's so interesting. I didn't know that when you did meditation, they can literally do an MRI scan in your brain and see that the prefrontal cortex gets bigger. That's so interesting, whatever. The only thing to keep in mind when you're vibing, which is what 90% of your texting should look like, is that you always want to talk about one of the following three things for the most part. You want to talk about you, your thoughts, your opinions, your perspectives on things, etc. Or you want to talk about the girl, what her values are, what she's all about, etc. And the thing you want to avoid is talking about random bullshit. So to avoid talking about the weather, or avoid talking about Game of Thrones or something like that. So this may go contrary to what I just said about, if you both like EDM music, you can vibe and talk about your favorite EDM band. So make it clear that it's not just about, did you see so-and-so show, and oh, they're so cool, and the height of their career was this, and he was born in this city, and they're doing another show in Stockholm this summer. No, you want to talk about how you feel about certain songs. Maybe you want to tease her if, she says she likes a song that you don't like or something like that, kind of mock her taste in music slightly a little bit. But talk about random bullshit, but then quickly revert it back to you, her, or the both of you. Okay, so there you have it, guys. That was a lot. That's a pretty extensive checklist or framework you can use to spice up your interactions with women. Now, of course, don't take this too literally. Not every conversation will have these elements. There are some essential ones, right? So you always do need to include qualification. That's mandatory. If you're not qualifying girls, you're not making them feel special, you're getting flaked on a lot, you're doing nothing to actually make her think that you have a special connection with her, or that you actually like her beyond her looks, beyond just sex. So you must use qualification. You must make it man to woman. You must make it sexual. You must come from that high value man frame, like I'm the one evaluating, you're the one selling yourself to me, I'm the prize, etc. And then, last but not least, you must give those 10% more interesting answers like we talked about earlier. The other ones are optional, right? Like, you don't have to really insert a lot of teases, although that definitely spices things up if you can do it in a respectful, sexy, funny way. You don't have to call her out on anything. You don't have to cold read her. So those are the more optional ones, but I want you guys to go back and watch this video, take some notes, have this video playing while you're there texting a girl, and really try to use these, try to practice, try to insert as many of these as you can. But at the same time, do keep in mind that this is a fluid framework, right? So let every conversation flow in its own unique way. But at the same time, do have this in the back of your mind. It's a balance of intentionally trying to learn and grow and amplify your text game, using your own intuition and, actively making that effort to insert these different things, while at the same time not forcing it, not teasing her when it's just not the right time, or not throwing in, I don't know, one of these techniques, a cold read at just some random moment when it doesn't make sense. But, a fair balance of the two, and naturally this will kind of come better to you. So anyway, that's all I got, guys. That's the end of it. Now you have this, amazing framework you can use. I will say one thing though, none of this shit matters if you don't have great content on your Instagram and or dating app to begin with, because without getting matches or without getting girls responding to your DMs, you have no girls to practice texting on. All this is irrelevant. So if you want me to get all of your social media content for you, I do offer that as a service. I call that my social media Rockstar program. And through this program, just like I said, I can get all the content you need to portray a fun, exciting, interesting, high status lifestyle, especially for guys that maybe aren't Brad Pitt, sexiest 10 out of 10 guy. That doesn't matter if you portray that high status lifestyle, because you can get attraction based on that. So in this program, how it works in a nutshell, it's a week long, and I plan a variety of events, things like nice dinners, hanging out at rooftop lounges, on a boat, maybe on a jet ski in front of a pool, mansion parties, etc. And there just so happens to be a professional photographer capturing everything. So the idea is not only are you having an awesome time hanging out with the other guys that are doing the program and partying and going to all the events with the beautiful girls that I also provide, but you also come out at the other end with amazing social media content. So we're talking group shots, solo shots, you at a super nice fancy restaurant with a group full of sexy people, you giving a speech on stage, etc. Everything you need to make you look like a freaking boss on social media. And I can also provide fashion consulting as well if you need that. So this way, like I just said, even if you aren't the physically most sexiest man on the planet, girls will still take interest in you. They'll respond to your DMs because the lifestyle will do the attraction for you. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in having me do that content for you, check out the website, which is Redbeard Rants. You can also outsource your whole online dating to me. All the information for that is on my website, redbeardrans.net. Lastly, there is a link to a free Telegram group in the description of this video, so you can quickly reach out to me there, get answers, ask me any questions about meeting women online, dating in Colombia, dating in Brazil, how to throw parties, what are good photos, anything like that. And then lastly, follow me on Instagram. I'm putting on the screen now, it's RedbeardRants1 on Instagram. And that is all I have for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.